watching closely.
What's the secret, Max?
You just gotta find something you love to do and then do it for the rest of your life.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Hello, and welcome to The Establishing Shot, a podcast where we do deep dives into directors and their filmographies. We are on a break this week from our early Spielberg series, and in honor of our discussion of Spielberg's Empire of the Sun last week, which introduced the world to the wonderful actor that is Christian Bale, we're going to be doing a draft of Christian Bale performances this week. So I have JP Boudreaux joining me again this week.
Hello.
He is back again, and I guess since I've been splitting episodes this season, I guess this is technically your fifth appearance.
Hey, give me a jacket, Eli. 5 Timers Club on the back.
Even though we just
recorded the other episode.
Minutes ago, we just finished his fourth appearance. This is technically a new episode, so technically the 5. Yeah,
I'll take it.
Got to get you I don't know, something. You know, I don't know what I have to offer, but maybe I can figure out something for you. JP and I think, are both excited about this draft. Christian Bale, great actor, obviously.
One of the best of all time. If you know, I mean, I
undeniably a powerhouse actor.
I literally think there's only one movie I've seen him in where I was like shocked that it made him look like a bad actor, because I know he's not.
Yes. I don't know what movie you're referring to, but maybe we'll get to it later on in the episode.
If we don't, I will reveal it if we don't, but I'd be very surprised if either of us I would be very surprised if either of us pick it as a notable Christian Bale performance.
Man, I'm nervous now. Okay, I hope I don't pick it. If you're familiar with our draft episodes or draft segments, because this used to just be a segment in the full episode, but now they're their own episodes. We do movie drafts. This is a little bit different because we're drafting the performance, not the movie. So technically, we could.
What was the other option that you brought up? Was it disaster movies? I think, because when this releases, Twisters is coming out. I think it was.
Yeah, Twisters will be coming out.
We couldn't pass up Bale performances. We couldn't
pass up the Bale performance. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done like a draft based on something that was coming out around the release.
Okay.
So this is probably keeping more. I think
we chose wisely. Yeah.
Yeah, of that. So yeah, I'm excited. There's plenty of great options to choose from for Bale performances. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're listening to this. We're drafting the performance, not the movie. So a lot of the times the movie quality lines up with the performance, but not always. Sometimes you can get a really good performance in a movie that maybe you don't like overall.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we are drafting specifically the performance of Christian Bale in the movie.
We're doing 5?
I think 5 is fine.
Okay. All right.
And we'll do some honorable mentions at the end.
All right. Let's do it.
When you keep it down to 5, it makes it like harder to make your choices, which I think is fun. So because you want to like get your well-rounded team of performances, and so it makes it harder to know you can only do 5. Let's jump in. So this is the 4th draft that JP has done with me. So the way I usually do with my guests is we go back and forth. I always give first time guests the first pick if they're doing a draft with me. But since this is an even number, this is our 4th draft together. Then Is it our fourth draft together? Did we do a draft in the overview episode? I'm trying to remember.
I feel like it may not have happened, but it's your show, Eli. We'll do what you want, man.
You know what? I'm giving JP. I'm giving you. This is your fifth. This is your reward for your fifth appearance on the show. You can have the first pick.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah,
That's good.
The first pick is yours for the taking, JP.
Okay,
so you're on the board. Good. Where are you going? First pick.
I'm glad because I feel like my first pick
something from me. I just
is really, really strong, and I feel like both of us were gonna fight for this one, but since I get the first pick,
do it.
So there's a movie that has become quite the meme machine in recent years, and rightfully so. A movie that I may not have fully understood when I watched it, but gosh darn, is Christian Bale phenomenal in American Psycho. Patrick Bateman. I mean, I'm sorry.
That's probably the typical pick. But yeah,
I'll admit it's typical, but I feel like the reason for it, having seen the movie, like his performance is pitch perfect. It's phenomenal.
Oh, it's great.
It's and like every single and like the memes almost make the movie more enjoyable. It is so bizarre. It's so weird.
Oh yeah.
It's very gratuitous.
Yes.
But he's so good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've heard a little bit about the director herself, like talking about how good he was in the movie. But I honestly think it is one of his best performances of his entire career. And I wish he would do
make
more.
The argument that it's his best performance.
I wish he would do more like outlandish stuff like this, because he's great. I love him in pretty much everything he's ever done, but he doesn't really do this kind of role very often. And so I got to start off strong with American Psycho, Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, I think I think if you took like 100 lists, that would probably appear the most often as the number one.
I feel like it's probably his most unique performance for sure. I think could be argued for. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of my top picks. I don't have that as like my number one pick though.
That's crazy. I would have thought that we both would have been like,
because it's the obviously like I would have wanted that on my list because it's gonna get votes, but my heart belongs to the Christian Bale performance in The Prestige, which
that's good. That's a good one.
Just love because he sells it. He's technically playing two parts. I don't know if I should have maybe said spoiler for that, but it's been out for long enough. And we've covered it on the podcast. So,
yeah. Sorry. Which I will say with The Prestige, I still feel like to this day, it's probably one of my favorite Nolan films, and I think if someone's never seen a Christopher Nolan film, that's the one where I'm like, I kind of feel like that's the one they should start with, because I feel like it's a really good example of who he is as a filmmaker, for sure.
I've started telling people that was like my gateway drug into becoming like a cinephile. The Prestige was, which I don't know if it's okay to use that as a metaphor, a gateway drug.
No, I mean it's a pretty popular phrase these days, so I don't see why not.
That was but man, Christian Bale in that movie. He's like, he even kind of has some range in it, from like expressionless, like quietness, to like there's some rage, there's some like, I don't know, I just really, really love his performance in that. He really sells it.
And it's one of those movies where when you go back and you rewatch it, you kind of notice the subtle differences between the two brothers that he plays. And Absolutely. Some of the like visual and script trickery that they like, some of the clues that they give you about who is who and when. So I got to give it to you. That's a solid one for sure. Yeah.
Go ahead. What's your second pick? Go ahead and win the draft if you want to.
Okay. So my second pick, I feel like there's some pretty obvious ones, but one of the ones that I always go back to that I think is much more of a subdued performance from Christian where he plays a bit more of an everyman type character and someone who is kind of put into a leadership position, but I feel like it's pretty obvious that he kind of just does it because he has to, not because he necessarily wants to have this position. I really have always loved his performance as Quinn in Reign of Fire. It's a movie, I watched many times as a kid, and I kind of rewatched pretty recently, I feel like, and you know what? It's still an absolutely badass movie. It's really a shame because it was affected by a lot of like production woes. Like there was like an outbreak of like foot and mouth disease in England where they were filming. And so it originally had a much bigger scope and scale, and they just were never able to meet that because of that. So it is really sad. I think it's a movie that really would do well for like a modern remake, but some of the special effects of like the dragons and stuff in it are still great. Also features a arguably even better Matthew McConaughey performance as well.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, literally, it's Christian Bale and an absolute scenery chewing Matthew McConaughey fighting dragons. It's awesome.
I mean, I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
It's great.
Hi. Quick reminder that you, yes, you, can be a huge help to the production of this show. If you visit establishingshotpod.com/donate, you'll find out how to join the Establishing Shot family through some giving tiers starting as low as $5 a month. You heard that right, only $5 a month. And not only will you be helping me keep the show going, but you'll also get some perks yourself, like early and ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, access to a Discord server where we can chat it up about the show and movies in general, and more. Might even let you choose a movie for me to review for the show. Check out that link in the show notes to learn more. Back to the show.
All right. So this is hard. So I have like my list here, but I don't necessarily have them in any particular order.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really hard to choose where to go. I think I'm gonna save one or two maybe for later. I think I can get later, and I'm gonna go with one that I think he's great in, more recent, I guess. Recent, yeah, fairly recent, in the last 5 years. And I'm gonna go with his performance as Ken Miles in Ford versus Ferrari, which I think is really, really fun. He's like, it's a very like, it's a very different performance for him than a lot of the stuff he's in. Because he's more like, he's more doing like a comical and dramatic performance in it. Like I rewatched the scene with him and Matt Damon fighting their little tussle earlier today. I was kind of like watching like some scenes to refresh on some performances. And I just really like him in Ford versus Ferrari, and it was a really fun movie, a really like fun performance. And yeah, I think it's up there in his performances, and it's in like a big loud racing movie. I guess not racing movie, but a car movie. That is like maybe not a typical venture for him, and I think him and Damon together like really are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still not got around to seeing that one, but I'm sure he's great. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard for him not
great
to be.
In it. Yeah. All right, your third pick.
Oh man, I feel like there's a kind of a big obvious choice that we're both kind of skirting around right now, but I'm trying to get some. I'm trying. I mean, I didn't want to go. I mean, I picked one really obvious take. I didn't want to go with the other really big obvious one, but I feel like we both kind of feel the same way. We're trying to highlight some of his lesser known performances, maybe.
Yeah.
So another one that I saw this movie in theaters when it came out. and I really enjoyed it. It's a really it feels kind of like a bit of an intimate movie. It's like very intense in some parts, and it's I don't know. It's like really hard to describe. I haven't seen it for a while, but I did see it when it came out. I really love his performance as Captain Joseph Blocker in Hostiles.
Okay, yeah.
Again, a bit more of a subtle performance from him, but a really interesting like transformation as far as his character goes. Without really spoiling too much, essentially like he is tasked with transporting this native chief from like one place to another,
right?
Back to his like I think he has cancer. They're trying to bring him back to his like cultural grounds so that way he can pass away. And there's a lot of reasons why Captain Blocker like doesn't want to do that, and he kind of starts out like really hating the task, really not caring for it, but it's kind of one of those movies where like they kind of come to an understanding and respect for reverence for one another. And I remember really enjoying it when I saw it when it came out. To be honest, I haven't seen it since then, but I mean, it was a really great Bale performance. Plus, phenomenal facial hair, like just a glorious
huge mustache.
The huge mustache with like it's really more of a beard stash because he's got the mustache with the stubble.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was real or if that was hair and makeup, but either way,
Bale, it's probably real.
I hope so. It was phenomenal. It was this glorious stash for sure.
I didn't have a chance to go back and like watch any scenes from that. I remember seeing
New
it
draft
in the
top 10 Christian Bale facial hair looks.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just don't. I didn't remember this one enough to like really consider it. I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters, but I just don't remember. Yeah, and I didn't have time to go like.
It's a bit of like a revisionist
look up
Western.
Yeah.
It was a little controversial when it came out. I
remember enjoying it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess I'm gonna have to go ahead and there's a reason that Christian Bale is known for one particular role. I feel like if I let it slip any further, everyone will be angry at us. And plus it'll probably like help me make up for you getting American Psycho.
And look, I think we can both agree that we know what you're going to go with, and I will respectfully allow you to take it, even though there's 3 options technically.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'll let you take one out of the 3.
I think you have to consider it as a whole. Like true. It's a performance. Obviously I'm picking him as Batman, as Bruce Wayne / Batman. And I would say the Dark Knight trilogy, you can't really. I guess you could take them separately, but like
there's definitely some growth that occurs in the performance,
right?
Sure.
And that's intentional, and that's a part of his performing. Like, I don't know. I was thinking of this as like one whole performance as the trilogy. I guess technically, like we didn't make that stipulation, so you could still take take one. I guess I'll. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna say him as Batman, Bruce Wayne in the trilogy. I guess
it's all good.
Yeah, he really does he really is great. I mean, he still is to this day the best Batman in my opinion. Best Batman, Bruce Wayne. People have their opinions on that. Who's the best Bruce Wayne? Who's the best Batman?
I mostly agree.
I think it's Christian Bale.
I like Batfleck for his own reasons. I love Pattinson for his own reasons.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's just because maybe Bale has just always been my Batman. It's kind of how I feel about Henry Cavill being my Superman. Like he's just that's just who it's been. And so I concur. I mean,
he's great. And I mean, he's doing a lot. He has to play 2 personas. He has to growl a lot. But I mean, we can laugh at like the Batman voice, but like, you know, it's just good. His performance is good. It's a very physical performance. It's, you know, and then his turns as Bruce Wayne are very like, what's the word I'm looking for? He does a lot of little different stuff as Bruce Wayne. He has his cocky moments. He has his, lonely, depressed moments.
I think one of my favorite Bruce Wayne scenes.
Nuanced is the word I was looking for.
Yeah. I think my two favorite Bruce Wayne scenes are both in The Dark Knight. There's the one where he walks into the restaurant and he sees Rachel and Harvey Dent. And he's like, "Oh, we should pull some tables together." And Harvey's like, "I don't think they'll let us." He's like, "Well, they should. I own the place."
Yeah.
And then my other favorite one is when the Joker invades the little cocktail party, and he like walks into that back room, and there's the couple like putting their clothes back on, and he presses the button on the wall, and the panel opens. She's like, "Oh my god, a panic room! Thanks." And he's just like looks at him, and he just walks in, and it's great. It's so great. Yeah, no, phenomenal. I mean, somebody had to pick it, and I would respectfully allow you the coverage of that trilogy.
Hello again. Do you know how you can really support the show for free in just a few minutes or less? That's right. Just leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you listen that might allow for ratings and reviews. These really help the visibility of the podcast. In fact, just hit that pause button right now and drop the review right now. And then you can get back to the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay. I trust that you went and left that rating and review now. Back to the show.
Your fourth pick.
So my fourth pick, and again, we're talking about Bale's performances specifically. Although this is a movie that I think might be my favorite from this franchise, which I think is another hot take, but I've always really liked it. I think Christian Bale does a great job as John Connor in Terminator Salvation.
Okay.
I think he brings firstly, I guess when you compare him to the other versions of John Connor we've gotten like the kid John Connor in Judgment Day. And then you had the other guy that played like grown up John Connor in Terminator 3.
Yeah.
But like that movie's not great, and I don't really like the performance from that guy that a whole lot. The best part about that one is like at the end where he's like, "We were never meant to stop Judgment Day, just survive it," and like they're in the bunker together or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I think Christian Bale does a really good job of portraying John Connor and like the grizzled nature, and like you understand why people want to follow this dude. Like he does have that kind of like charisma, that he gets to display. And of course, infamously, he had the blow up on set during this movie, which I think, having worked on sets, I feel like a lot of that was probably taken out of context. I mean, obviously, he probably could have been a lot kinder in his response. But it is there are certain levels to it that I can definitely understand. But overall, I know a lot of people didn't really enjoy this movie. I've always really liked this one. I think it's probably my favorite of the Terminator franchise, and I think he does a great job. I mean, you also have Sam Worthington, who puts in a pretty decent performance, and also you have Bryce Dallas Howard, who plays his wife in this movie as well, and she's also great. But yeah, I mean, I think he does a really good job of selling John Connor as the charismatic leader that he really has to be in order to convince people to follow him. So I think it's a great performance from him.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters, but another example of like I don't really remember it very much. So yeah, I'll have to take your word for
directed by Mick G, which I don't know time he made a movie. Yeah, I think he did the Charlie's Angels movies. Oh, he did The Babysitter, which was for Netflix, which I didn't watch, but I heard some people liked it.
Okay, yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that in theaters, but don't remember really much about it, to be honest. But yeah, so man, I have some choices to make, and I'm
kind
gonna
of the same way.
go.
I'm like, I don't know what I want to pick for my last one here.
Yeah, you have one more. I still have two. None of us have picked any of his Oscar nominated roles yet, which is funny. And I'm gonna continue that trend. And
to be honest, it's because most of his Oscar nominated movies I actually have not seen. So
yeah, I've seen two of
I'm trying to go off
four.
ones I've seen.
Right,
You know?
I've seen two of the four. One of them was one that I wanted to catch up with, but didn't have the time to. But yeah, I'm gonna go. So yeah, I'm looking between two movies right now that I just struggling. I think I'm going to roll with a movie. I watched both of these movies in the past few weeks, preparing for this, and I think I'm okay. I think I'm gonna go with a movie from 2006, directed by Werner Herzog, who is a really like well-regarded, phenomenal director, called Rescue Dawn. It is a movie where Christian Bale plays a character named Dieter Dingler, who is a American-born German. Anyway, he's. I think he has maybe dual citizenship. Maybe he was born in Germany but moved to American early on. Something like that. Anyway, he's in the U.S. Air Force, and he is shot down over. It's during the Vietnam War. He's shot down over Vietnam, and is trying to survive and is captured. And his performance in this is so good. It's like a slow descent into madness. And like he's interacting with others in his little prison facility, like little imprisonment that he's in, and they're like crazy in their own ways. There is some like wild over the top sequences where he's just like going nuts. There's some very like subtle sequences. There's like an emotional range. There's just like really strange, surreal ending. Yeah, he's really, really great in it. And I thought it was a really good movie. So yeah, this is probably more of a recommendation pick because I doubt a lot of people have seen this movie. But it's worth.
I think I've definitely
checking
seen
out.
it at least once, but it's been so long. I mean, obviously, I believe he's probably great in the movie.
Oh yeah,
but it's been so long that I couldn't like really willingly pick it because I couldn't remember. You know,
he's great in it. But yeah, so yeah, Rescue Dawn. That's my pick. Probably is not going to get me any votes, but I felt like I could do that after picking Batman. So
I mean, yeah, you got your look. I got my one really strong pick. You got your one really strong pick.
Yeah.
Everything after that's kind of just people's preferences. Man, I'm like kind of torn between a couple solid ones for my last pick here.
Yeah. We'll do honorable mentions, but yeah.
That's true. There's another really solid Western I could go with, but I already have one Western pick, so I think
that's true. There is one. Yeah.
I think I got to go with I think what I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with another one where it's like the movie overall is not the greatest thing in the world. But Bale's performance, as always, is pretty great. I will say this one specifically is not the most original concept. There's a lot of movies kind of similar to this. But I've got to go with Equilibrium. Really solid, kind of like early 2000s action flick. So, I mean, he's got some really cool action scenes in it for sure.
Yeah.
But the overall concept of like
very Matrix-y.
it is kind of. I think it is kind of one of those like post Matrix ripoffs, but it's specifically where it's like it's a dystopian future with a totalitarian government, and like people take drugs to keep their emotions at bay, and like it's a very like Fahrenheit, and like you can't have art and books and all this stuff, so it's like very like Fahrenheit 451. There's just a lot of movies that have a very similar vibe. But he looks pretty kick-ass in the action scenes with like the gung fu and stuff. As John Preston is his character name in that movie. One that I haven't seen in a while, but is it cheesy? Yes, but Bale's a fun part to watch. There's another movie I was thinking of maybe going with that I would kind of say the same thing, where the movie overall isn't great, but his performance is solid. But I'll save that for the honorable mentions.
Sweet.
Hello there, listener. Don't you ever want more for your life? Don't you ever dream of surpassing the status of just podcast listener? Well, I've got good news. If you head on over to establishingshotpod.com and click the send a voicemail button on the right side of your screen, you can be featured on the podcast. I'd love to hear from you, whether it's a comment in response to an episode you liked, an opinion of mine you disagreed with, or just a question for me. And if you're too shy to have your voice featured, you can always email me at establishingshotpod@gmail.com. Don't settle for just being a podcast listener. Reach for the stars and get featured on The Establishing Shot. Back to the show.
Man, last pick. This is really tough. Because there's three I'm looking at that I'm like, I could go with any of these three. Man. What do I do? So one of them, he's more of it's more of an ensemble. There's a couple of ensembles that he's in that I think he's really good in, but also like not the main focus of the movie. You know what? I'm going to go off the rails and pick something that probably most people aren't expecting. I'm going to go back to the superhero well, and I'm going to pick him as Gore, the God Hunter in Thor Love and Thunder. Because he is going 100% as Gore, and I really,
I'll give you,
loved it. I really loved it.
That he is the best part of the movie. But but this movie, like he just feels so wasted, not just as an actor, but also the character is such a great character in the comics. But I'll give it to you. I mean, his performance is a fun time to watch. I think.
Oh yeah, it's a great performance.
I think of the scene that sticks out to me the most is when he has all the kids in the cage and he kind of like appears in the shadows and he like creeps them out a little bit. That was like a really good scene, but for the most part, the less we talk about Thor: Love and Thunder, the probably the better, because this will just turn into another 30 minutes of me ranting about how terrible that movie was. It made me visibly angry when I went and saw it with my friends. They're like looking over at me and seeing how pissed off I am. They're like laughing. Oh, that movie was funny. It frustrated me, and I love Ragnarok. I love Taika Waititi. I don't know how Thor Ragnarok was great, and then I don't know, he just turned it up to 11 and just didn't work for me. But anyway, I'll give you the Bale's performance in it is the best part of the movie for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The other movie, I guess we're like in. Before we list them off, we can do some honorable mentions. The other main one I was looking at there was The Machinist.
Not seen it, but I've heard it's one of his best performances.
Yeah, he's great in The Machinist.
Also, I want to say Rescue Dawn was like one of the last times that he did the big physical transformation, and he decided he couldn't really do it anymore because he had just come off of Batman Begins. Goes into Rescue Dawn, so because he goes from The Machinist, where he had to be really skinny, he goes to Batman Begins, where he had to put on a bunch of weight, and then he had to lose a bunch of weight again for Rescue Dawn. Well, that too.
Yeah. The fighter he lost a lot of weight for, which was after Dark Knight. Yeah, because the fighter was 2010. That's the one. That's his Oscar-winning performance. I have not seen it. I didn't get around to it.
I mean, I've not seen. So like literally some of his big performances over the last couple of years. I still haven't seen Ford Ferrari. I didn't see American Hustle. I haven't seen Vice.
Yeah. I haven't seen Vice either. He's good in American Hustle. It's just been a long time since I've seen it. So
I am really excited for next year's The Bride, where he's playing Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
I mean, Maggie Gyllenhaal's directing. I just know that's gonna be a banger. I mean, go ahead.
Another I was looking at was The Big Short. I really like him in The Big Short.
Still haven't seen that one either. I have not gotten around to seeing Out of the Furnace, but I've really come to really like Scott Cooper's work. So Scott Cooper, not Bale related, but one of the movies he has that I really loved is Antlers, which came out a couple years ago, and it's kind of like a horror movie, like a Wendigo. I don't know why it did not do great, like critics wise, but I loved it. I'm a big monster movie fan though, which Scott Cooper also did Hostiles. He did Black Mass. He did Out of the Furnace. And the other movie I was going to say was kind of one of the ones I was either going to go with Equilibrium or The Pale Blue Eye, which was a Netflix movie that came out 2022, January 2022. It's not amazing. I think I gave it like a 3 stars 3 stars. But Bale's performance is great and another phenomenal piece of facial hair. If you want to see Christian Bale walking around in like Victorian clothing as like a detective trying to figure out a crime that happens at a West Point in 1830s. Maybe it's for you. But overall, the movie was a bit underwhelming. He's also done a little bit of voice work over the years. I was looking, and I was thinking about maybe picking one of these. He was in Mowgli, it was another Netflix movie that Andy Serkis directed with a lot of motion capture.
I haven't seen that.
About the Jungle Book story, but like the real version of it.
Sure.
I liked it a lot. At the time, the voice cast is pretty stacked. It's supposed to be more true to the story of the Jungle Book, not like the musical from Disney. And it came out the same year as like their quote unquote live action version of it. But I thought it was a good time. He plays Bagheera. And then he was also in the English voice cast for Howl's Moving Castle.
Howl's Moving Castle. He's great in that. Yeah. He's also in Pocahontas.
He is in Pocahontas. I mean, you got 3:10 to Yuma is another great performance of his.
Yes.
Which was the other Western I was thinking of. Public Enemies.
About that, but
I will say
I don't love his performance in Public Enemies. I watched that in the past few weeks too, and apparently it's good because it's a lot like the real guy it's based on. But I
maybe just didn't like the real guy.
I learned that after the fact. But like while I was watching, I was like, he feels really like he's just like phoning it in for this movie. It didn't. But maybe that's just the way that actual real person was like. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I will say one movie that I've seen, and is the only time I watched a movie where I was like, this honestly makes Christian Bale look like a bad actor. Exodus: Gods and Kings. I watched that, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Talk about a garbage movie. Overall, the thing about it was I actually really liked Joel Edgerton's take on Ramesses II. Like I enjoyed his performance, even though it is literally whitewashed. Like you have this white guy, Joel Edgerton playing a Egyptian pharaoh, and it's an Australian guy. But Christian Bale specifically, I don't know if it was a him thing or if Ridley Scott just didn't direct him properly, but I don't know what he was doing. But it is pretty much the only time I've ever seen a role of his where I was like, this makes him look like he's a really bad actor. Do not really recommend the movie. There was a couple cool sequences, although some of the special effects, even for 2014, look kind of dated. But I don't know. It was just the one where I'm just like, wow, like I know he's capable of way better than this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, you can't win them all, I guess.
I just feel like he's one of those actors where if he's in a movie, like it's probably going to be worth watching. Like as far as like honorable mentions,
at least
like
his performance. Yeah.
If the biggest takeaway for your audience, with these last few episodes, the Empire of the Sun and this one is that, he is someone that 9 times out of 10, 9.99 times out of 10,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to enjoy his performance regardless of the movie.
Yeah.
So, if you see his face on a poster on streaming and it's a movie you've never seen before,
Just go for
maybe give it a shot.
Yeah.
You most likely will not be disappointed.
I would be remiss if I did not shout him out as Laurie in Little Women. So my wife would not be happy if I didn't at least shout him out.
Which version of Little Women?
That's the 90s version.
Okay.
Yeah. The version with Winona Ryder.
He's also in Newsies, but I think he's one of the few that didn't do any singing.
Yeah, I've never seen Newsies, so
I can't
do that. But, and then the other one that I do want to shout out, it's like it's a Terrence Malick film called Knight of Cups.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of Malick's probably like least regarded films. Terrence Malick is a director that I think is just like a master. Huge Malick fan. He hardly says anything in the whole movie of Knight of Cups, yet he's like on screen for a large portion of the movie. And it's just like an example of like, he is kind of like just a muse for the voice. He does do the voiceover work for his character, which Malick does a lot of voiceover stuff, over visuals. And so just being like a visual muse and just that sort of performance. It wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, I've got to pick this, but I feel like it's enough to give a shout out of like something very different that he's doing for that movie.
So here's kind of a finalizing question for this this episode about Christian Bale, arguably, like we said, one of the best actors to ever do it. What is either a genre that maybe he hasn't done, or like a specific role that he hasn't done that you would love to see him? It could be like a character, a fictional character, a historical figure. What is something he hasn't done that you think you really would love to see him do?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's you're putting me on the spot, but if they're gonna keep making Lord of the Rings movies, which apparently they're gonna do, like I could see him as like a human like king. He hasn't
really done a lot of fantasy.
No, he hasn't. I think he could do an elf or a dwarf or whatever they asked him to do. He could do it well, but I really could see him as like a king, like if they ever go back and do like the big war, like he could be like oh man, my mind is blanking. Is it Elendil? That
you're talking about they do a film about the war of Pelennor Fields.
Yeah, that cuts the ring off. Isildur, that's who it is. Yeah, just like a kingly man. I think he could play that part really well.
Yeah, I think when you look at his career, he did some fantasy kind of earlier on as a kid, and he's done like some Shakespeare adaptations. But once he kind of became more of an established actor, he's mostly stayed in like drama, thriller, and like he's done a good bit of sci-fi.
He hasn't done any straight horror. He's done some thrillers, but
which I guess some people look at American Psycho as a horror, which I'm like, I don't really think so.
It can be gory, but it's not a horror movie.
So I would say I think a horror, like a straight up horror movie, would definitely be interesting. I also agree with you that like some kind of big grandiose like fantasy franchise would be cool.
Did you see The Invisible Man? The
The
newer one
2020
with Elizabeth Moss?
Yeah, that movie's phenomenal.
So like the man that plays the Invisible Man in that movie, like he could do that's a horror movie, and he could do a role like that really well, I think.
Yeah, no, I thought that movie was. I think I gave that a 5-star review. I mean, I thought
that movie. Yeah,
I thought it was the perfect way to update the concept for modern audiences. It also had a very strong like female empowerment message that wasn't overbearing, and I feel like was actually done really, really well, and talked about a topic like abuse, but not in a in an overbearing way. It was like in a very realistic way, and like I know that movie was, and then I think that's oh gosh, what's the director there? Because he also did Upgrade. Yeah, he did Upgrade, which I thought I actually recently watched. I also really liked, and I think that guy's going places. Like he's definitely got an eye for it.
But Aldous Hodge plays the guy that's like the Invisible Man, and like Bell could like knock a performance like that out of the park, I think. Just like menacing and like, but like sly, and being able to switch between like menacing and like polite when other people are around. Like
definitely
he could do something like that in a horror movie super well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm trying to think of my own question now. I don't know. He's just one of those guys. I'm like, I just think he would be great at anything that he's asked to do. But
what's the skinniest character you can think of? And
I don't know. Maybe some kind of like,
Elastaman.
Like some kind of like skinny, spirit type character or something, like some kind of cryptid, like the skinny man, But you know what I would love? I would love to see him in some kind of like Guillermo del Toro, like fantasy horror film. I think that would be super sick. Put him in some prosthetics or something,
Yeah, I'm all about that.
So
I'm down for that.
But yeah,
sweet. All right, that was a fun question. I appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and read out the final results, and then we'll wrap it up. JP ended up with American Psycho, Reign of Fire, Hostiles, Terminator Salvation, and Equilibrium. And I ended up with The Prestige, Ford versus Ferrari, the Batman trilogy, Rescue Dawn, and Thor Love and Thunder. And keep in mind, we are drafting the performance, not the movie. So even if you don't like the movie, just take into account the performance. But that's all we have for this.
So many honorable mentions.
Oh, a lot of honorable mentions. And there was even like, we didn't really talk much about, like we mentioned The Fighter, which we haven't seen. Vice, I have not seen, but apparently he's good. There's some apparent good performance that neither of us have seen. So you can email at establishingshotpod@gmail.com and tell me why like I'm so terribly wrong because I haven't seen this movie.
To tell Eli why you need to take his cinephile card away.
Yes. Let me know. JP, do you want to go ahead and share again for those maybe that didn't hear the end of last week's episode what you're up to, maybe where people can follow you to see what you're doing and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I'm always up to something, and usually it's no good, so to speak. No, I'm just kidding. No, easiest place to connect with me is on Instagram. Just my full name, Jean-Pierre Boudreaux, over there. And I might have my own show coming out soon called Thanks for Letting Me Ramble. And definitely got to have Eli on now at least 5 times.
Yeah,
is
I've got to pay you back.
Right.
Maybe we can record like one 10-hour long episode, and that'll make up for it.
Yeah. We'll just do like a Lord of the Rings extended edition marathon.
Yeah.
And we'll do our own commentary while we watch it.
We can ramble.
Oh my gosh, did you know that he broke his toe when he kicked the helmet? Like, yes, everybody knows that now. So anyway.
That's great. Yeah, I'll make sure to link that in the episode notes. And like I said last week, hopefully you've got some links to that. Maybe you'll have an episode released by the time this episode comes out. And
maybe soon.
We'll see. But either way, be on the lookout. Go look out for that. Go follow JP on Instagram, because I'm sure he will be keeping you updated on that project. But that is all we have for this week. I'm planning on going ahead and before our next episode, maybe gaining 50 pounds or so for that episode, and then I'll maybe lose 60 for the episode after that. So that's my plans for what's upcoming.
He's on that Christian Bale workout routine.
No, but in all seriousness, we do have our episode on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade coming up next week. So be on the lookout for that. I plan on weighing right about the same that I do right now for that. But that is all we have for this week. I have been Eli Price for JP Boudreaux. You have been listening to The Establishing Shot. We will see you next time.
We were happy here. For a little while.
But look, I figure it this way. Better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.